started picking up some pieces of masonite that my husband had cut for me that we used to cut at an angle to strengthen stretchers. And I had a whole bunch of these, and I decided I would use them because I did some painting on masonite a long time ago, but mostly on canvas. And I like the masonite because I can scrape and scratch it and do things you can't do on canvas. So since I love nature and my dad raised peacocks, I did the one with the peacock feather. And the ginkgo actually has ginkgo leaves in it because when I was in Chicago, the ginkgo tree at the Frank Lloyd Wright studio was just gorgeously golden. So that's why it's called golden ginkgo. Well, then I was going to do another one, and I had it all cut of a seed pod from a lotus blossom. You know, the brown pod, like you've done in some of your art with clay, I think. And I decided, since I had done the 3D washing ashore one using Liquitex gesso on canvas, that maybe I could do preform lotus pod canvases using Liquitex. Well, it turned out to be a challenge, and Ted's peeking around the corner there. Ted is the one that does a lot of frames for a lot of us SVA artists, and so whenever I have a problem I call Ted, and I said, Ted, this lotus blossom or pod doesn't want to hang like I want it to because it wants to go flat. So I said we need to put some pegs or something behind it. So he came over and helped me drill all those holes and put in all those pegs so that it would hold up. And the emphasis on those seed pods, and the reason they're white, is because I wanted the shadow to be what was being played with. And so that created a problem for Richard when he was photographing, because he had to get the right lighting to make sure the shadows showed up. Well, then I tried another one. It was really small, and that time I used something else, and that didn't work at all, so it ended up in a little frame so that it would push itself out, and I have that on my window ledge, and in the afternoon the sun comes through and leaves shadows. But the last one is the one that's hanging, and that's actually the way I wanted them to be, and I had thought, wouldn't it be neat to have 30 of those, until I got hung up on that one. Because it started out as a shaped canvas. It wasn't firm enough to withstand everything, and I tried a different media, and so I ended up lining the openings with tin foil, some of them, to strengthen it. I ended up putting Bounty paper towels on with Liquitex gesso as kind of a mache. I ended up actually with some paper mache because I knew if it was damp it would just go flat. So those were a result of this. That was a carryover from this and from the washing ashore one with the canvas. So my show's called New Directions because that's really what it is, and I'm more concerned with, or as concerned with, the materials as I am with the subject matter. The subject matter is important to me, but sometimes, like with the collage pieces, when I'm cleaning up, I find something and then I want to do something with it. And that happens a lot, and I have a whole table full of stuff, and artists understand what stuff means. And I was going to throw away all kinds of plastic pieces that I had put paint on, and I looked at it and I thought, no, wait a minute, these could really be neat in some other kind of a collage where there's something in back of it. And then I cut some of them out and I put them on some small works pieces I did. I cut some of the globs of color out. So I tend to want to keep everything. A lot of these pieces have to do with water because when I came to Sheboygan and before, whenever I came here, I had a hard time leaving Sheboygan because of the water. So I like diagonals because they show power to me. I prefer the water when it's rough, not when it's real smooth. or the sound of the water lapping. So whenever the water's rough, I like to go down by the lake. And the one that's at the top, the smaller one at the top by the Washing Ashore one, is called the marsh, because when I lived outside of Milton there was a marsh on our land, and it always made me want to do grasses. So that has that element. But I also, and people have pointed this out, wanted you to see that when I do the collage, there are lots of shapes, because one of my favorite artists was Paul Cézanne, who said that everything in nature could be reduced to geometric shapes. And so when I do the collages, they're pretty evident, but then when you look at my paintings, you see all these little shapes too.